In some previous videos, I've talked about my Yireo Integration Testing Helper, a mouthful, but it's basically a tool to help you set up the Magento integration tests and run them in a faster way. And the last area, which I didn't really talk about in the previous videos, is this thing about the traits, the assertions that are shipped within my helper that could be incorporated in your own tests if they are to your liking. In a lot of my modules, like this Yireo Google Tag Manager module, I've included integration tests, and I'm running them automatically, but also manually as soon as I'm deploying a release. By doing that for more and more different modules, you find yourself basically repeating a certain type of tests. And instead of actually just duplicating those tests all over the place, I've personally decided to actually move common assertions into my own library, and that's basically the integration testing helper. So for instance, every time that I want to set up a certain module, I basically start off with asserting that that module is there, found by Magento, and that it's actually enabled. And all of that could be, of course, typed in manually. However, in the case of my Yireo Integration Testing Helper, I'm simply importing a couple of traits on the class level, and then I'm able to use them. And as you can see right here, every trait name is basically equal to the method that it's containing, and simply by just including more of these traits altogether, you find yourself basically choosing from the normal assertions that are there in PHPUnit. On top of it, the assertions that I've basically added there as part of the integration testing helper. Now there's a lot of different assertions included, so let me just open up the folder. Under test integration, there we can find actually all kinds of different traits. So for instance, the easier traits are the ones that are simply checking for something within the object manager, like a module list, the components registrar, basically the first steps into your own module to make things work. But then step by step, I'm also aiming for other assertions that are a little bit more work. For instance, a preference is kind of easy. That's just nothing more than a wrapper around assert instance off. But as soon as you want to make sure whether a certain DI file is being loaded, things become a little bit more cumbersome, including also, for instance, whether a certain DI plugin has been registered under a specific name or not, etc., etc. And simply by just reusing all of these assertions, well, the dependency with my integration testing helper becomes larger. That's something that you need to choose whether that's something to your liking or not. But on the other hand, you basically spend less time on reinventing the wheel, because all of these assertions slowly become a little bit more cumbersome and are so slowly something to deal with yourself as well. Another alternative is, instead of just including all of these traits in a manual way, you can also just extend your own class from this abstract test case, and then you can actually see that part, but not all of these assertions are simply just already included. And at that moment, you can basically just make use of all of these other helpers, the assertions that are included, just for your liking, to extend upon your own test in a nicer way.